Hi, everybody in Fundamentals of Business. How are you today? Uh, Go Knicks, right? We're all excited in New York. Hopefully, they can, unless you're a 76ers fan, I hope, I wish you guys all the best, but I hope the Knicks go on and sweep the 76ers. Speaking of sweeps, you will sweep me by getting your paper done after the day after Memorial Day and sending it to me via email at Michael, Michael, dot Goldstein, Goldstein, at kbcc dot cuny dot edu dot cuny dot edu. So it's Michael.Goldstein at kbcc dot cuny dot edu. You're going to send it as a Word attachment, and it's 5 pages, and it's your business plan, and it's very, very important to your entire semester. So please have a good, complete business plan that really shows the best of you. And don't be afraid, as I said before, don't be afraid to use AI. I don't care if you use AI. If it makes your business plan sound better, read better, read clearer, but make sure that it's in your own words also. So take the AI that whatever AI comes up with, and you may say, "Oh, that sounds so much more professional." Um, yeah, maybe it sounds more professional. The wording might be better than what you potentially could come up with. Not necessarily, but really, I want to hear it in your own words. I want to hear your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own creativity, your own business thoughts. And one of the great things that video that I sent you Monday night, I think I sent it Monday night, which was that, and my dog is running around, was all about keeping notes, like having like a little bit of a pad or a journal where you can keep business notes, ideas that you have for your business, ways of making your business successful, um, potential competitors in your business, what they do right, what they do wrong. I'm always, and I'm saying this always, going to other cigar shops and looking at the competition and seeing what they do right. And listen, do I put mine up as the best type of cigar shop in the world? No, by a long shot, no. There are some that are just have so much money and they can do so much with their stores, and they have so many things and things going on, and nicer furniture and nicer atmosphere and better air systems that could take the smoke out, and more selections of cigars and larger humidors. They have all sorts of things that my store can't come up with because we just don't have the funds for it. But we try to compete with our level of store, a small store, a small cigar place. And on that note, in terms of, I'm writing a business plan right now. I have to come up with a business plan. Why, you say, do I have to come up? Not for my store, although it's good to keep your store and revise your business plan once a year so that you have it's kind of like a check on your own store or your own business, and you can really kind of evaluate where you've come from. Keep all your old business plans, but evaluate where you've come from and where you are going. So your business plan is going to include, remember, your aha moment, the original moment of inspiration for you. And I said aha, aha, and also then a description of your business, a simple description of your business. And then I really want you to go into the marketing, how you're going to market your business and how you're going to advertise your business. Those two components are extraordinarily important. Then the finances of your business, how much things are going to cost and what you're going to make on it, how much you're going to pay yourself. And then really look at who your competition in this area is. Is there any competition? There might not be any competition in your area, or the competition may be so great that it really isn't competition because you're a small person and you're competing against, let's say, Coca-Cola, or you're competing against Apple. You're a small little thing. They're not really your competition. They're more like the biggest thing, and you're going to be a tiny little thing. And then the conclusion, where you see your business going this year, how you can see it working, how you see it happening, what what you anticipate to happen. And then that's going to change a lot, your conclusion. Your conclusion is going to change because reality is going to hit it. So why am I writing a business plan, and what am I doing with my business plan? So the opportunity has come up. There is another town not far from my town in New Jersey that had a cigar shop on its main street. And it's a very nice town, upper middle class town. And the demographic, by the way, you should look at the demographics of who's going to be buying your products also, but we'll talk about that later. The demographics of the town are very much people who like to stroll the main street, go to restaurants on the main street, there's coffee shops on the main street. Nice town with a train that goes into New York. Not too much crime. What I would say is, considered it was voted, I think, one of the better main streets in all of New Jersey, like a year or two ago. And a beautiful cigar shop, a really nice one, not as nice as the one I'm in right now, not as nice as the one that we own right now, but a nice one, smaller, very much a mom and pop thing. There was one guy that ran the place. I don't even think he had any employees. He got older, and instead of selling the shop, which he may have tried to sell the shop, he just closed it. Closed it up. I think he owns the building still. So I think he wants to sell the building and the shop, but he did not sell it. He didn't put another cigar store in the space where it was. And I spoke to my partners at my cigar shop, and I think we're going to try to look at buying it and turning it into our second store. So having two stores. And this one will be a little bit different. It won't be necessarily the same formula that we're using for the shop that I have now with all the memberships. There will be memberships, but it won't be, they don't have the space to have a second room. It's just really one front room, but it's nice. It's larger than my front room is. And it has a very nice, what's called a humidor that keeps the temperature of the cigars and keeps them humid. And so we have, I'm putting together a proposal, a business plan, a proposal for my partners and myself to consider what the costs would be, what the time would be, and we'd have to hire, nobody really could do what that man was doing. We'd have to hire a full-time person there, a full-time manager of the cigar store. And I am doing what you're doing. I'm kind of considering there is no competition in that town. I'm looking at what the costs of purchasing cigars for that store would be. The cost of he had terrible furniture in there. He had terrible flooring. It was kind of like old, and it looked like he picked the stuff up off the street or something. I mean, it's just terrible, ugly. So we're going to have to buy new furniture. We're going to have to buy new counters. We'd have to fix it up a lot. There's a cost there. There's a cost to, I don't know how he left the vendors and so forth. I mean, are we going to be able to establish, when we have good relationships with our vendors, can we move those vendors over to this store? Will they supply this store? I think they will. Are we going to have enough customer base? I don't know if see, the problem with many stores, all stores, is its reputation. And all businesses, it's a reputation. So if you have a bad reputation already, it's hard to rebuild the reputation. So if his store was considered dirty and he may not have been nice to people, or there may have been some conflicts between certain people and him, it's very hard to get those people to come back even though it's new ownership. They don't even know that it's new ownership. Even you put up a big sign that says under new ownership, we have people, we've owned this store now for, 3.5 years, 4 years now, the one that I'm in. And we have people who walk in every single day and say, oh, didn't realize the ownership had changed here. Even though for the first year we had under new ownership outside the store, big signs. and they'll say, "Oh, it's so much nicer than it used to be." Oh, well, it's always like a surprise to them that things have changed, and that's the hard. It took us a long time, and there are still many, many people who refuse to come back to the store, not knowing, even not caring. They have such a bad feeling towards the store itself that they don't want to come back, which is kind of sad in a way if you think about it. But that's the way people react. I know that when I'm treated poorly by a place or a store or a hotel or a restaurant or anything, a clothing store, whatever it is you go into and utilize, that I take it personally, and I shouldn't. It's business. I mean, I shouldn't take a salesperson in a store treating me badly personally, and never go back to that store again, because it may just be that salesperson. It may not be the store. But yeah, you just say, you know what? They don't want my business. I'm never going back into that place again. And that's how a lot of people feel, and a lot of people react, and I've reacted that way. So I think it's a human reaction. You feel like you've been insulted. That you are, they're supposed to be the ones who treat you well because you're giving them your money, and then they don't, and they're nasty to you, or they do something to insult you. I've had all sorts of insults hurled at me by people, casually, unintended, intended, by people at stores. I went to a hotel last year in Italy, in Rome. Oh, yeah, last year, a year ago in Rome, and we were we got there on time, actually, to check into our hotel room, and there was no room available. And I said, it was okay. That's part of the thing. I said, can we leave our bags here? I mean, they were huge bags. Can we leave our bags here and you take care of them while we go out for lunch? We went out for whatever, some food with my family. And the woman behind the counter was like, no. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do with my bags? We're here on time. It's your fault that the room. I mean, I'm used to American customer service. This, I guess, was Italian customer service. Even though the Italians are very nice people, and I happen to love Italy and I love the people there. This one person, who I don't even think was Italian, was from some other nation, but that doesn't even matter. Was just a nasty person, and would be like, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I don't understand. You have space here? Are you at the counter the whole time? Can you just look after my bags? I said, you don't have to look at them. Just make sure that they're okay. No, we cannot keep your bags here. I said, but what am I supposed to do with my bags? Take them with you, was the response. And I remember saying to myself, I don't think this is the policy of the hotel. I don't think this is the way they treat their guests. But this is the way this individual was treating me at the time. I had to take a step back, and I said, can I speak to your manager? Well, that's the normal thing you ask. You have to speak to somebody a little higher up. No one is here. I am the only one here. Well, when will your manager be here? I don't know. These are the types of answers that are just evasive, and it's only going to increase my sense of, okay. So I said, listen. I said, we're going to leave these bags right here in front of the counter. If these bags are not here when we get back, I said, then you're going to be responsible. And I had learned this individual's name, and I said, you do with them what you want. If you want customers to come in and see these bags, that's fine. If you want to put them behind the counter, that's fine. If you want to put them in a room, that's fine. I said, and this person was like livid and literally chased my family and we left the bags, chased us out of the hotel as we were leaving the hotel, and said, you can't do that. You can't leave the bags there. I just walked away. I said, those are my bags. You're responsible. I'm holding you responsible for them. We came back an hour and a half, 2 hours later. The bags were gone. She had moved them to a room. I asked, she was still there. I had asked for the bags. I said, can I have my bags? And she said, yes. She brought the bags out. I said, is our room ready? She said, yes. I said, okay, thank you very much. That next day, she was not at the counter, and there was a manager at the counter, and I spoke to the manager, and she got fired. And I don't feel bad for her. Or he told me she was going to be fired. He said this was not the first complaint. She had just been hired a couple of weeks back, and she was not working out at all. And I said, I know. I said, she is just not a person that you want to have in your employ. I feel bad that I was the final nail in the coffin, but and I probably am not describing it as bad as it was, but we had just gotten off a flight that had been delayed for 3 hours. I was exhausted, truly exhausted, and I was at my wit's end when you fly internationally, you lose a lot of sleep, a lot of energy, and then especially we flew into Rome Airport, and then as a description of customer service, you're exhausted. So the people at the hotel usually are very upbeat and friendly, and they're extremely accommodating. They know that you've just come from New York or wherever, and that you and your family. So I'm there with my whole family, my wife and my 2 children, and you're not only doing this, but you're embarrassing me, personally embarrassing me in front of my family. I'm tired, and there was no reason to be rude, and that's what she was. This individual, she was rude, rude beyond rude, and with a bad attitude. Bad. Now she may have had a bad day. A lot of people have bad days, but you just don't do that to a customer. You don't do that to somebody who's checked in for 5 nights at your hotel, and paying an enormous amount of money, because that hotel is extremely expensive. And you wonder about the judgment of the hotel, how they could hire somebody. Did they do any kind of customer service training? Did they talk to the person? Now, it's very important that when you're doing your business plan, you put in the positivity that your business is going to have, the goodness that from whatever it is, whatever service business it is, whatever thing you're building, you want that energy, that positive energy. There is not a person that walks into my store that is not greeted politely in a way that's like with a big smile. I do not, hi, good morning, good afternoon, how are you today? If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to ask. If you need any help, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to leave you alone to look at your cigars. Take a look. That's the way I want it to be. And then it's all conversation. You try to make if a person doesn't want to talk, that's fine. You step away. If somebody wants to talk about cigars with you, and you ask, what kind of cigar do you like? How do you like it? Do you like mild? Do you like bold? Do you like a big cigar or a small cigar? What kind of gauge do you like in terms of the size of your cigar? Do you like it a harder smoke, or a less smoke? All these questions, and then you ask, how long have you been smoking? Where do you go to other cigar shops? What are your favorite brands? I mean, there's a million questions you could ask someone to get them into a conversation about cigars. Same thing with clothing, same thing with food, same thing. You want to go into a restaurant where somebody greets you and is happy. You want to go into a clothes store where someone is nice and asks if you need any help. Please don't hesitate to ask. You don't want somebody following you around, but you want to be in a situation with people that makes you comfortable and makes you feel good. So customer service is extremely important, and it's good for even if you're employed, even if it's not your business. You want to be nice to people. So I had a good friend. Most of you know Bergdorf Goodman. It's a big store in Manhattan on 57th Street. It's for extremely wealthy people. Everything costs, a fortune there. And on in the old days, I'm talking in the 90s, on the first floor of Bergdorf was a series of 30, 40 different booths. When I say booths, they're more like counters. with different, jewelry designers. And they were very, very famous designers, but small designers, not like large, big designers like Gucci and stuff like that, but small designers. And I had a good friend who was in charge of one of those booths. It was the name of the name of the designer. Her name was Angela Cummings, famous jewelry designer. And high-end pieces. Her pieces in those days were going in the 80s were going between like 3,000 to 150,000, $200,000 a piece of jewelry, and that was those days. Now it's more, and so my friend who worked that booth, a woman, would have customers come every day, and there was a policy that you were only allowed to take one. Some of the smaller pieces you could take out, but the larger, more expensive pieces you could only take out of the safe one at a time. Now there was plenty of security around, but you're on the first floor of a major traffic street, and there was a big threat of robbery. And so these pieces had diamonds and gold and platinum, and were extraordinarily expensive. And you're only allowed to take one out of the safe at a time if a person wants to look at it or try it on. And there were samples, in the glass, but if you wanted to bring one out or take one out from the glass, it was one at a time because they were always afraid of getting a theft. And she was the only one in the booth serving customers. So this was during the Christmas rush. I'll give you a story. Christmas rush. And there are, a couple of weeks before Christmas, and people are going out and buying gifts for people. And that's really when most of the major retail stores make most of their money. And a man came in who I'm going to generously describe as looking like someone who was either homeless or displaced. He had a long beard. Didn't look like he had bathed in a long time. He was wearing, ripped up clothes, and he looked very thin, and really not someone who would be shopping at Bergdorf, but you never know. And so this gentleman came up, and the person, I keep wanting to say her name, but I'm not going to say her name. This person who was serving him was extraordinarily polite to him. He was asking to see all sorts of things, and she was showing it to him. And she thought, okay, I'm going to humor this individual. I mean, he's asking to see things that are $50,000. He's asking to see things that are $100,000. He's asking to see things that are $10,000. A full range, and he's looking, and she's so sweet to him. By the way, she worked on commission, 7% commission, 7% of her sales. So she didn't take a salary, and she's doing this. She's not getting paid for this because she doesn't think this guy is going to buy anything, but she is and she's nervous, and she's worried of theft, and she's looking over at the security guard to make sure that he's there at the door. And she doesn't, but she does it. And if I tell you this person is the nicest, kindest person in the world, and is extremely sweet, and is, how do I say, just a good person, very good salesperson, knows more about jewelry than anybody else in the world. And she went to GIA, Gemological Institute of America, but she's been in the jewelry business for 50 years. So this guy finally stops after, a long time. And there are other customers that are coming, and she has to deal with the other customers, but he's standing there the whole time. And every time he's standing there, he's holding the jewelry, and she goes to deal with the other customers. She has to keep an eye on him while she's dealing with the other customers. And finally she says to him, he goes, yeah, she goes, are you okay? Have you, he goes, yeah, I think I've seen it all. He goes, okay, I'm going to take 4 of those, 8 of those, 5 of those, 7 of those, 12 of those. And she's like looking at him like, okay, buddy, this is enough. I've been playing with you this whole day. But he goes, can you add that up for me? And so she goes to her calculator, and she's adding up all the numbers and all the stuff. And the number, at the time, I think the number was something around $400,000, maybe a little bit more. Remember, she works on 7% commission. She gets 7% of the $400,000. If it's really a sale. And he goes, do you take the American Express Black Card, which is, somebody who has a high income, and she, in those days, in the 1990s, and she said, yes, we do. And he pulls out just the card, no wallet. He pulls it out of his pocket, puts it down on the counter, and the name is on the card is Jim Henson. Now, if you know who Jim Henson is, Jim Henson was the creator of the Muppets. If you know what the Muppets are, and he was a multi-millionaire, and he was not someone that you would, and he was buying gifts for the people that worked for him with Sesame Street and the Muppets, and these were his Christmas gifts for his employees, and so he bought about $400,000 worth of Christmas gifts for his employees, earrings and bracelets and necklaces and things like that. And he said to my friend, he goes, I've never had such a nice person serve me as you, and I just want to thank you. And she said, no. And he goes, no. He goes, you were extraordinarily patient. You were extraordinarily kind. And he goes, and I'd like to give you something. And he goes, pick any one of these pieces. And he looked and he said, I would like to buy one for you. And she said, well, I get a discount on these. And he goes, good. He goes, so he bought her a necklace because she was being. And he goes, Merry Christmas. And he left the store with his wrapped up jewelry for his employees. Rhonda, actually, I said the name. The woman actually had to spend about, she said, listen, do you want to come back? He goes, no, I'll wait. She had to spend like half an hour wrapping and putting them in boxes. But yeah, she made a fortune. Not only did she get the piece of jewelry, but she got the commission on the $400-something thousand. She came home that night. And I was at her apartment with friends, and I never saw anybody who was. It was the most money she'd ever made in one day from one customer, and she was ecstatic, and she was also just in shock. The whole experience put her in shock. So remember, it pays sometimes to be good and to be a good person and to be someone who treats all people well, no matter how they look or no matter who they are, or no matter even how they treat you sometimes. Sometimes they can be nasty themselves. You just hit their nastiness back with kindness, and you try as a customer, as someone who's in business, you try to hit them back with, for every time they're nasty to you, you just be 10 times nicer to them. And you see, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes they get annoyed that you're being so nice to them, like, I don't know. Sometimes people come into my store and, I'll be like, they'll be kind of gruff and nasty, and I'll be like, boy, it's a great day outside today, huh? And they'll look at me like I'm crazy. But you know what? It's just the way I am. I like to be nice to people. I don't like to be mean to people. And I don't like people who are nasty. I know some people have horrors in their own lives, but they should not take them out on other people. Other people don't deserve your anger. You should either share them with friends or family or medical professionals, but don't take them out on other people. Other people don't deserve your nastiness, especially in business. So that's the end of my lesson for today. I will put up another video. Remember, you start on that paper, get that paper going. Don't wait till the last minute. Last minute just doesn't work. I could tell if it's a last minute paper. A lot of times, you'll be like, you're late with your paper. Don't be late with your paper. You can't be late with your paper. I need it from after the Memorial Day. I need to start doing your grades. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.